What's going on, guys? It's Groove back again with another video from the laws of human nature. And in this video, we're going over everybody's favorite, narcissism. Everybody's a narcissist today, or everybody's ex was a narcissist. Well, that's a video for another time, or a conversation for another time. But yeah, narcissism. So he first starts out by saying that we're all narcissists. Narcissism is pretty much like on a scale and on a range, and some people is worse than others, but we are all narcissists to some degree. Narcissism is it's a deep self-love for yourself. And so you don't care about anybody else. He says the goal in life should be to turn this self-love into empathy. And so that's having love for others, like a true love for others. So as humans, our survival and happiness depends on the bonds we share with other people. And so without people paying us attention, we feel like we can't connect to others. On a deeper level, again, people need this attention so much, and it's so important that they will commit crimes just to get attention, or even self-delete to get attention. It's all just for attention, and it's because they feel like they're not connecting with other humans. But again, some people just need that even more because they're deeper on that scale of narcissism. But because we can't constantly get attention from other people, this is where we go inward. We create our own self-image, our own tastes, our own style, how we feel about ourselves. We always accentuate the positives and then just put down the negatives. But we can't go too far down into this because, our self-image is not tied to reality. It's not exactly who we are, again, because you're just accentuating the strengths and putting down the weaknesses. But when you can have a healthy self-image, this is where self-love comes from. And this is important because whenever we have moments of like self-doubt or depression, this is where our self-love comes in to raise us up and make us feel good. It can even go further than that and make us feel even more superior than others. So he says this idea may sound strange, but it all happens unconsciously. You can't see or feel it. It's not like a thermostat you have. It just happens, again, without you even noticing. He says that this all pretty much stems from, or it's built when you're between the ages of 2 and 5, when you stop getting instant gratification from your parents, when you're starting to develop your individual abilities and qualities, because again, you're not getting just constant attention anymore. This is when you start to build up that self-love, that self-image of who you are. It's between the ages of 2 and 5. So as you're between the ages of 2 and 5, your parents kind of like let you become yourself. They let you do things for yourself. And so instead of always giving you validation or giving you attention, you start to figure out your own self. And so again, you create this healthy image of, I can do it, but I know my parents are there to support me as well. And of course, again, this is all going on unconsciously. You're not 5 years old or 3 years old saying, I know my parents are going to help me. There is a fine line, or not really a fine line, but you have your parents validating you, but at the same time, you're able to create your own self-image during this age of, I can do it, mom, or, I can do it, dad. And he says that deep narcissists happen when this break is done too sharply. You never get any validation from your parents during this period. You just build up this deep, crazy self-image of yourself. Parenting is so crucial for kids, and it's really hard for single parents to actually get this right. These deep narcissists, they don't have that validation from their parents and then able to build up their own self-image. And so it all becomes self-image. And again, this is divorced from reality. And so they just become this super narcissist, self-love, all about me. And it's not just single parents, because he also mentions that the parents, if they're deep narcissists, then everything's going to be about them. And so again, they won't show their kid any love as well. So it's not just single parents, but if both parents are narcissists, this also, they don't give the kid validation, and so the kid grows up just full of self-image on their own again. And so that leads them down the path of being a deep narcissist. Now, he does say that the other way hurts as well. If you have two parents, or parents period, whatever, that are, constantly smothering their kid, constantly giving them validation, you never give the kid a chance to discover themselves or create their own self-image. And so again, as they grow up, they lack that validation. And so that hurts them in the real world because they don't have somebody constantly validating them. Again, having a healthy self-image allows you to become resilient in life. If you're just dealing with conflicts, yourself has you, because you've built up a good self-image. And so this protects you as you're going out into life. But again, like he said, it can hurt people on the other side if their parents are just giving them too much attention. They never let the kids discover themselves. So when it comes to these deep narcissists, he talks about the difference between extroverted narcissism and introverted narcissism. He says that these extroverted narcissists can actually thrive and function pretty well in society because they become masters at gaining attention from people. But the introverted narcissists, they often just retreat to a fantasy world, and so they often just end up feeling superior to others. But he does say, even though, these extroverted narcissists can operate, in society just fine, the deeper it goes, the more attention they need, and they just become more grandiose, they become more dramatic because they just need more and more attention from other people, and this can become tiresome, and some people may just be put off like, oh, why is this person doing too much? They're too dramatic. What are they doing? It's because they need your attention. As far as the deep narcissism, when it comes to an introvert, they alienate themselves from everybody else. They become really socially awkward, and this just comes with a deep superiority complex. Like, so it's weird. It's like, so they're socially awkward, but then at the same time, they feel like they're better than everybody else. And he does mention that in both cases, because you may be saying, okay, well, I'm an extroverted narcissist. I'm pretty good. Like, yeah, it's better than being an introverted narcissism or narcissist. But he says the both of them, when they're going through times of depression because they can't keep getting that attention, they will result to drugs and alcohol. So it kind of just, even though they're two different narcissist types, they kind of all just lead to drugs and alcohol to, act as a crutch, which isn't good for either or. So then he talks about some ways to spot a narcissist. He says the easiest way to spot a narcissist is if they're ever challenged. They have like no defense. If somebody's poking fun at them, they become defensive, again, because they lack that self-image. And so they just become defensive. They get angry. They want to play the victim all the time. They're very sensitive, again, because they have no self-worth within themselves. He also says that, narcissists, they always turn the conversation back to themselves. So I was thinking like, if you're having a conversation with somebody and you're telling somebody about your experience, or if there's a group of people and you're like, hey, so I went out last night and we went to this concert or blah, 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 the narcissist will come in and be like, oh, well, we went to this grander concert when I was there, or, they always turn the conversation back on themselves so they can just gain more attention from everybody else. Instead of just listening and being like, oh, that's cool, you went there? How was it? What was the food like? It's always, oh, well, I did something grander, or I went over here, or my weekend was like this. And they always turn the conversation back on themselves to just gain more attention. So again, there's nothing wrong with, talking about your experiences, but if somebody's, talking, or you're having a conversation with somebody and they're, telling you about their experience, listen. Like, you don't have to sit there and just interject, oh, well, I did this, or when I went there, we did that. And again, they always try to turn the conversation back onto themselves so they can gain attention. And when it comes to people in their lives, they always just use them as a tool for attention. Just somebody they can call to vent to, somebody that can just listen to them and only them. And he talks about how in relationships, they'll get their significant other to cut off friends. They are the only ones that are allowed attention in this relationship. Or if you're going to be with me, no friends. You need to give me all your attention. I'm the one that you can talk to about your problems, and we can just go from there. But again, he says that this is deep narcissism, again, because everybody has some narcissism in them, but he says this is like deep narcissism. If you're having your significant other cut off friends, or if you have friends just so you can use them, just so they can be there for you and give you attention, he said these are true levels to deep narcissism. So again, you may be thinking like, man, like, am I one of these people that are just keep getting used by somebody? They may be a deep narcissist. Another thing he points out about deep narcissism that I found interesting was when he's talking about work. So he says because deep narcissists lack self-esteem, they can't focus on their work because they're always worried about what others may think about them. And so he says they can never focus. They can never get anything done. They always have anxiety. Deep narcissists, they're always switching jobs. If somebody's always switching jobs, they have traits of deep narcissism within them. Because again, it stops you from focusing on the craft or whatever you're doing. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. So when it comes to the scale of narcissism, so he talks about how there's a scale, and he doesn't actually put a number on it, but I was like, okay, so if there's a scale between 1 and 10 being the worst at the bottom. So he says the average person usually lands between 1 and 5 on the scale of narcissism. Usually during times of depression, we may dip, but then this is where our self-esteem and our self-love that we've built up as a kid unconsciously kind of brings us back up. Like, oh, things may be going bad, but it's not that bad. Like, I'm a good person. I have self-esteem. You have that self-love, that self-image that brings you back up. So then he goes into some traits of a healthy narcissist. Again, because we all have a range. When's the last time you heard somebody say, I'm a healthy narcissist? But he talks about some traits are you recover faster, you become more resilient because you have that self-esteem. You're not looking for much validation. You are able to understand and look at your flaws in life and, you know, laugh at yourself. And so again, these are all traits of a healthy narcissism, because you're able to, you know, again, you don't get hurt much in life. You're able, again, you're able to bounce back because you have that self-love, you have that self-esteem that you've built up when you were a kid. So you can kind of brush things off a lot more. From this stronger position, this healthy narcissist can focus more of their attention outward, again, because it's not all about them. These people become really good artists, really good creators or inventors. They are more focused outward than inward. And so they just become more successful in different ventures that they take in life. Another direction that these healthy narcissists take is they go down the path of empathy, and they develop these very strong empathetic powers. And so with, you know, strong empathy, you're able to understand people inside and out. You can really feel their problems. And so he says these people tend to be more of like leaders of organizations, therapists, psychologists. They're really able to understand and help people and get into their shoes. How many times have you talked to somebody and, you know, they're listening, but they're really not listening? It's because they lack empathy. They lack really understanding your situation and understanding your problem. But you can only get to this place after you've gained a healthy level of narcissism, that you're able to find yourself being super empathetic to these people because you know who you are inside and you're strong, and now you can help others and get inside their shoes and in their mind and understand what's going on with them and really feel for them. Developing this empathy, it's such a great need for today. He said there has been studies done, and, you know, people's empathetic powers have dropped off since the 70s. And now with the rise of social media, it's gone down even further. He says to counteract that, he's like, we really need to get outside and be social with people to have this empathetic power come back, because it's so crucial to human nature. Like, we really need to be empathetic with others. But again, that's just going away, and you can see it all online. Like, there's so many hateful comments. People just don't care about other people anymore. And again, he said this is such... He's like, we need to go back to being more empathetic, but it's just going down a hill. Each generation is just becoming less and less empathetic towards others. And he also talks about how empathy is really important, because as you turn your energy and your attention outward, people like you more. People want to be around you more. Your work gets better. All areas of your life improve as you care about people. You become more social. Again, all of this just brings positivity, and he says there's like a momentum of positivity that happens in your life, and you just start to get more friends, you're better at work, the more you care about others, the more you turn this self-love out into the world. He says your life just improves drastically. And as I was thinking about that, I was like, man, like so many people today are just like, oh, I'm 30 and lonely, I'm 42 and I have no friends. And it's because people aren't getting out, people aren't being social, people aren't developing this empathy muscle that we all have. And so again, everybody just turns inward, or we're just all online and nobody's getting together. We really do need to get more social and get outside and actually be amongst people and just be empathetic to everybody. And it's just a positive all around. You know, the more you care about others, the more attention you get, the more they care about you. And it's just a cycle or a spiral all the way up. You know, then he just ends off by saying that, you know, empathy is a skill. It's like a muscle. You need to work on it. You need to get outside and work on it with other people, being social. But he says the more you work on this skill of being more empathetic towards other people, you'll have a smoother ride in life. Again, going back to what I said earlier with those people that are just lonely and depressed, like, you need to get outside. You need to be social. You need to work on this empathetic skill. He says you'll have an easier, just more positive ride through life if we all just became more empathetic, or at least worked on it. That's pretty much it for this video. Go ahead and hit a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.